The alarm screamed through Station Kepler 9. Red lights flashed across every corridor. In the main control room, aliens from 6 different species stared at their screens in horror. "The cooling system is dead," said Supervisor Thalrek, his forearms trembling. "The reactor will melt through the station hull in 20 minutes. The station held 3,000 people. Evacuation would take 40 minutes. Everyone knew what that meant. "We need to manually restart the backup coolant pumps," said Engineer Ryan Cooper. He was the only human on the maintenance crew. "I can reach them through the service tunnel." "Impossible," Thalrek clicked his mandibles nervously. "The tunnel is filled with radiation. The heat is 400 degrees. No protective suit can handle both. You would die before reaching the pumps." Ryan looked at the screen showing the reactor temperature climbing. He thought about his daughter back on Earth. Then he thought about the 3,000 people on this station who also had families. "Hold my beer," Ryan said, handing his drink container to a confused Thalrek. Before anyone could stop him, Ryan grabbed an emergency suit and ran toward the service tunnel. The suit was designed for cold space walks, not superheated radiation zones. But Ryan had an idea. He sprayed the suit with fire-suppressing foam from the emergency station. Then he wrapped cooling packs around his arms and legs. Finally, he grabbed a radiation shield panel torn from a damaged shuttle and held it in front of him like an ancient knight's shield. "Human Ryan, this is suicide." Thalrek's voice crackled in his helmet radio. "Probably," Ryan agreed, stepping into the tunnel. The heat hit him like a wall. Even through the foam and cooling packs, it felt like his skin was cooking. The radiation counter on his wrist went crazy, numbers climbing so fast they became a blur. Ryan pushed forward, holding the shield in front of his face. His boots started melting. The foam on his suit began to bubble and steam. Ryan could smell burning plastic inside his helmet. Every breath felt like inhaling fire. "Reactor breach in 12 minutes, the computer voice announced calmly. Ryan reached the first junction in the tunnel. The path split into 3 directions. Heat waves made everything shimmer and blur. He could barely read the signs on the walls. "Left tunnel," Thalrek's voice guided him. 30 meters to the pump room. Ryan's legs felt like rubber. The cooling packs had stopped working. His suit was failing. But he kept moving, one foot in front of the other, holding that radiation shield like his life depended on it. Because it did. He reached the pump room door. It was locked. The control panel was melted. Of course it was. "Can you open it?" Thalrek asked. Ryan looked at the door. It was thick metal designed to contain radiation. No way to break it down. But next to it was a ventilation shaft. A very small ventilation shaft. "I have another idea," Ryan said. He kicked open the ventilation cover. The shaft was barely big enough for a human to squeeze through. Ryan dropped his radiation shield. It would not fit. He would have to go in unprotected. "Human Ryan, no. The radiation in that shaft will kill you in seconds." "Then I better be fast," Ryan said. He crawled into the shaft. The metal was so hot it burned through his gloves instantly. Ryan bit down on his tongue to keep from screaming. He pulled himself forward using his elbows, ignoring the pain, ignoring the radiation alarm that was now just one continuous screech. 10 meters. His vision started to blur. 5 meters. His hands were not working right anymore. 2 meters. He could see the pump room through the shaft opening. Ryan fell through the opening and crashed onto the pump room floor. Everything hurt. Everything was burning. But there, right in front of him, were the backup pump controls. "Reactor breach in 4 minutes, the computer announced. Ryan's hands shook as he reached for the control panel. His fingers would not grip properly. He used his palm to slam the activation button. Nothing happened. He hit it again. Still nothing. The system needed a manual crank to build pressure first. Ryan saw the crank wheel on the wall. It was designed for a 4-armed alien. It was too high for him to reach from the floor and he could not stand up anymore. "Come on," Ryan whispered. He dragged himself to the wall. Used the pipes to pull himself up. Grabbed the crank wheel with both hands. He pulled. The wheel did not move. It was stuck from years without use. 2 minutes to breach. Ryan pulled harder. His arms screamed. His burned hands slipped on the metal. He wrapped his arms around the wheel and threw all his weight into it. The wheel moved. Just a little. Then a little more. Ryan cranked it around once. Twice. 3 times. On the 4th turn he heard pumps rumbling to life. Coolant flow detected. Thalrek shouted over the radio. "It's working. Keep going." Ryan cranked the wheel 5 more times. Then he hit the activation button again. This time lights turned green. Pumps roared. Cold coolant rushed through the pipes above his head. Reactor temperature dropping. You did it, human Ryan. You actually did it. Ryan collapsed against the wall. His suit was in tatters. His hands were burned. The radiation exposure would require weeks of medical treatment. But everyone on Station Kepler 9 was alive. Security found him 20 minutes later, barely conscious. The medical team rushed him to the hospital wing. By the time he woke up 3 days later, he was famous across the entire station. But something else was happening that Ryan did not know about. Station Kepler 9's computer systems had recorded everything. Every word, every action, every impossible thing Ryan had done. That data was automatically uploaded to the Galactic Safety Network as part of standard incident reporting. 1 week later, at Galactic Safety Council headquarters halfway across the galaxy, an analyst noticed something odd. She pulled up Ryan's incident report. Then she searched for other similar incidents. What she found made her call her supervisor immediately. There were 43 other cases. Humans doing impossible things. Humans surviving situations that should have killed them. Humans solving problems in ways that made no sense but somehow worked. And in almost every case, the human had said the same phrase before attempting their crazy plan. Hold my beer. The phrase appeared in mining accidents, ship malfunctions, diplomatic crises, and rescue operations. Every time a human said those 3 words, something dangerous and improbable followed. And every time the human somehow succeeded. The analyst wrote her report. She labeled the phrase as a linguistic marker for high-risk human behavior. She recommended immediate monitoring protocols. Her supervisor agreed and sent the report up the chain of command. Within 2 weeks, every safety system in the galaxy was being updated. A new alert protocol was created. And the phrase, "Hold my beer," was flagged in every database as a warning sign that a human was about to do something absolutely insane. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. Captain Nina Ross sat in the pilot seat of the cargo ship Fortune's Favor, humming along to old Earth music. Her crew of 5 humans had been hauling mining equipment for 3 months straight. Today was supposed to be an easy run through the Epsilon sector. Nice and boring. "Captain, we're approaching the shipping lane merge," said her navigator, Tommy Blake. "Looks crowded today." Nina glanced at her screens. 12 cargo ships, 4 passenger liners and 2 alien military escorts all moving through the same space corridor. It was like a highway during rush hour but in 3 dimensions. "No problem," Nina said, cracking her knuckles. "I can thread us through that gap between the Valerian freighter and that passenger ship. Save us 20 minutes. "That gap is pretty tight," Tommy warned. "The flight computer says it's not recommended." Nina grinned. "Flight computers are boring. Watch this." She grabbed her coffee mug and held it out to Tommy. "Hold my beer." "You're drinking coffee," Tommy pointed out, taking the mug anyway. "It's a figure of speech," Nina laughed. She pushed the throttle forward and angled the ship into a sharp dive. What Nina did not know was that 3 weeks ago, the Galactic Safety Council had activated Protocol HMB across every ship, station and planetary defense system in known space. Every computer network was now monitoring all communications for one specific phrase. The moment Nina said those 3 words, her ship's communication system transmitted them as part of standard traffic control data. The system was designed to share basic information between ships to prevent collisions. It was completely automatic. Protocol HMB detected the phrase instantly. Alarms erupted on every ship within 3 parsecs. Threat level indicators jumped from green to red in half a second. Emergency broadcasts flooded every communication channel. Maximum threat alert. Human Protocol HMB activated. All ships evacuate sector immediately. This is not a drill. On the Valerian freighter, Captain Zextar looked at his screen in horror. What kind of weapon are the humans deploying? He immediately fired his emergency thrusters and dove away from Nina's ship. The passenger liner carrying 2,000 Brevian tourists went into full emergency burn. Their captain did not wait to find out what was happening. The liner's engines glowed white-hot as it accelerated away at maximum speed. Both military escorts activated their shields and weapons systems. They started broadcasting evacuation orders to every ship in the sector while backing away from Nina's position. Inside the Fortune's Favor, Nina was completely focused on her maneuver. She tilted the ship 90 degrees, slipped through the gap where the Valerian freighter had been, and came out the other side perfectly. The whole thing took 15 seconds. "See? Easy," Nina said, reaching for her coffee. "Wait, where did everyone go?" The space around them was empty. Every single ship had vanished. Tommy stared at his scanner like it was broken. Captain? I'm reading 47 ships in full emergency burn, all heading away from us. Also, we're getting about 1,000 emergency broadcasts. What? Why? Nina checked her own screens. Every ship in the sector was running away like she had the plague. What's going on? Their communication officer, Lisa Grant, was listening to the emergency channels. Her face went pale. Captain, they're saying we activated something called Protocol HMB. They think we're about to cause a major disaster. Planetary defense forces are scrambling. They've cleared a 50-kilometer zone around our ship. That's insane. We didn't do anything. Nina protested. Actually, Tommy said slowly, checking the computer logs. The system flagged when you said, "Hold my beer," 3 minutes ago. Apparently that phrase triggers some kind of galaxy-wide alert now. For a moment, the bridge was completely silent. Then Nina started laughing. She laughed so hard she had to wipe tears from her eyes. You're telling me that the entire galaxy just panicked because I made a coffee joke? It's not funny, Captain, Lisa said, but she was trying not to smile. We've caused a sector-wide emergency. Ships are filing incident reports. We're probably going to get fined. Nina kept laughing. This is the best thing that's ever happened. Tommy, are you recording this? Already saved to the ship's log, Tommy grinned. Their engineer, Carl Bishop, came running onto the bridge. Why are we at battle stations? Are we under attack? No, Nina wiped her eyes. Apparently we're the attack. The galaxy is scared of us because I said, "Hold my beer." What? Carl looked confused. Lisa pulled up the official Protocol HMB documentation that was now flooding their communication system. She read it out loud. Protocol HMB, Emergency Response to Human High-Risk Behavior Indicators. Phrase, "Hold my beer," identified as precursor to dangerous human problem-solving attempts. All nearby vessels must evacuate to safe distance. Military response teams should prepare for unpredictable outcomes. They made an entire protocol about us saying, "Hold my beer?" Carl started laughing too. That's amazing. Look at this, Tommy pulled up his scanner. A Galactic Safety Council ship just jumped into the sector. They're hailing us. Nina tried to compose herself. Okay, everyone be professional. Let's not make this worse. She opened the communication channel. This is Captain Nina Ross of the Fortune's Favor. We're sorry for any confusion. The alien voice on the other end sounded stressed. Captain Ross, this is Safety Inspector Quintal. Are you aware you triggered a maximum threat alert? We just found out, Nina said. But I assure you there's no emergency. I was just doing a simple navigation maneuver. You said the phrase, Quintal said. The protocol is very clear. When humans say that phrase, it means they are about to attempt something extremely dangerous. It's just a figure of speech. Nina protested. We say it all the time. There was a long pause on the other end. You say it all the time? Sure, Nina shrugged. Hold my beer, watch this same thing. It's casual. We don't actually mean anything by it. Another long pause. Nina could hear panic chittering in the background of the communication. Captain Ross, Quintal said slowly. How many times per day would you estimate humans say this phrase? Nina thought about it. I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 times. Depends on the day. More if we're doing something tricky. The chittering on the other end got louder. Someone was clearly having a breakdown. Please stand by, Captain Ross. Do not say the phrase again. Do not attempt any maneuvers. Just stay there. We need to contact the Galactic Council immediately. The communication cut off. Nina's crew looked at each other. Then they all burst out laughing again. We broke the galaxy, Tommy wheezed. We literally broke the galaxy with a coffee joke. I need to call my sister, Lisa said. She's never going to believe this. Wait, Carl said, still grinning. Does this mean every time any human anywhere says, "Hold my beer," the entire sector goes into panic mode? They all thought about that for a moment. Then they thought about how many humans were scattered across the galaxy. How many ships? How many stations? How many times per day someone probably said that phrase? Oh no, Nina said, but she was still smiling. They're going to have alerts going off constantly. This is going to be a diplomatic nightmare, Lisa said cheerfully. Nina leaned back in her chair. Well, at least we'll be famous. The crew that discovered the galaxy is terrified of human coffee jokes. Her communication system beeped again. This time it was an emergency broadcast to all human ships in the sector. Nina played it on the bridge speakers. Attention all human vessels. Please be advised that the phrase, "Hold my beer," now triggers Protocol HMB galaxy-wide. Until further notice, please avoid using this phrase in casual conversation. Repeat, do not say, hold my beer, unless you are genuinely about to attempt a high-risk operation. Nina and her crew looked at each other. Then Nina raised her coffee mug. Hold my beer, she said into the ship's recorder. I'm going to make this the best story ever told at Space Bars. Ambassador Frank Wilson straightened his tie and walked into the Galactic Council chamber. He had been a diplomat for 20 years, but he had never seen the council this angry before. Delegates from 40 different species filled the room, and every single one of them looked ready to start yelling. Ambassador Wilson, said Council Leader Morthan, her voice cold. Thank you for joining us. We need to discuss a serious problem with your species. Frank sat down at the human delegation table. I understand there have been some concerns about Protocol HMB. Concerns? A Krillian delegate jumped to his feet. Your species has triggered the emergency protocol 93 times in the last 2 weeks. 93 times. Do you know how much it costs to evacuate a shipping lane? Do you know how many resources we waste responding to your constant chaos? Frank had read the reports. He knew it was bad. But 93 times was worse than he thought. I apologize for the disruption, Frank said carefully. But I should point out that in all 93 cases no one was actually hurt. The humans involved successfully completed their tasks. That is not the point. Another delegate stood up. This one was a Thosian with scales that turned red when she was angry. They were very red right now. Your species says this phrase, we evacuate everything, mobilize emergency services, and then we discover the human was just fixing a minor problem or showing off. Or making a joke, added a third delegate. 17 of the incidents were jokes. Morthan activated a holographic display. We have compiled evidence. Let me show you what your species has done. The display showed incident after incident. A human mechanic said, hold my beer, before fixing a broken engine using nothing but spare parts and tape. It worked. A human pilot said, hold my beer, before attempting an impossible landing in a storm. She landed perfectly. A human doctor said, hold my beer, before trying an experimental surgery that saved a patient everyone else said would die. The patient lived. We see the pattern, Frank said. Humans say the phrase before attempting something difficult. Something impossible, Morthan corrected. Your species attempts things that our best scientists say cannot be done. And somehow you succeed. This is the problem, Ambassador. We cannot predict you. We cannot calculate your actions. Your species operates outside all known probability. A small alien delegate stood up. Frank recognized him as Piptic from the Safety Council. Ambassador, we are not trying to be difficult. But your species is giving the entire galaxy anxiety disorders. Every time we hear, hold my beer, we think a disaster is coming. We prepare for the worst. Then you succeed and we look foolish. So you want us to stop saying it? Frank asked. Yes, several delegates shouted at once. The phrase clearly triggers something in human psychology, Morthan said. It makes you attempt dangerous actions. If you stop saying it, perhaps you will stop doing these things. Frank almost laughed. These aliens really did not understand humans at all. With respect, Council Leader, the phrase does not make us do anything. We are going to attempt these things anyway. The phrase is just something we say first. Then stop saying it, the Krillian delegate insisted. Is that so difficult? Actually, yes, Frank said. It is part of our culture. We have been saying it for hundreds of years. It is like asking you to stop breathing. We do not breathe, Morthan pointed out. It is a figure of speech, Frank sighed. Look, I will take your concerns back to Earth. I will explain that the galaxy would prefer we not use this phrase. But I cannot promise anything. This is unacceptable, the Thosian delegate said. We demand official action. Make it illegal for humans to say this phrase in galactic space. Frank shook his head. You cannot legislate human behavior like that. Besides, there are millions of humans across the galaxy. How would you even enforce it? The council chamber erupted in arguing. Delegates shouted over each other. Some wanted fines. Some wanted restrictions on human travel. Some wanted humans banned from certain sectors entirely. Frank tried to calm everyone down, but it was useless. The meeting went on for 3 hours and got nowhere. Finally, Morthan called for order. Enough. We will compromise. Ambassador Wilson, we ask that humans register any use of the phrase 24 hours in advance. That way we can prepare properly and not waste resources. Frank thought about it. It was a terrible solution, but maybe it would buy time. I will propose this to my government, but I cannot guarantee compliance. It is better than nothing, Morthen said tiredly. We will reconvene in 1 week to finalize the details. Frank left the council chamber feeling exhausted. The whole thing was absurd. He was halfway to his ship when his communication device went off. Ambassador Wilson, this is Research Station Helios. We have an emergency situation. Frank's stomach dropped. What kind of emergency? A containment failure in the experimental physics lab. Dr. Lucy Green says she can fix it, but it is dangerous. She requested we contact you first. Put her on, Frank said. A moment later, a young woman's face appeared on his screen. She looked stressed but determined. Ambassador, this is Lucy Green. We have a problem with the quantum field generator. If I do not fix it in the next 10 minutes, it will create a spatial rift that could destroy the entire station. Can you fix it? Frank asked. Yes, but I need to manually shut down the core from inside the containment chamber. The radiation levels are lethal. The method I am thinking of has never been tested. But I think it will work. Frank knew what was coming. He could see it in her eyes. Dr. Green, please do not say it. The Galactic Council just spent 3 hours yelling at me about this exact situation. Lucy looked confused. Say what? You know what? Lucy glanced at something off-screen. Ambassador, I have 8 minutes. I need to go now. Tell the station crew to seal the lab section and activate emergency protocols. She paused. And tell them to hold my beer. Frank closed his eyes. Dr. Green, we just agreed to a compromise with the council. You are supposed to register that phrase 24 hours in advance. I do not have 24 hours. I have 7 minutes now. I know, Frank said. Just do what you need to do. I will handle the diplomatic fallout. Lucy nodded and cut the transmission. Frank watched his communication device as the emergency alert started going off. Protocol HMB activated across the entire sector. Ships evacuated. Military forces scrambled. Planetary defenses went active. All because a human scientist needed to fix a problem. 15 minutes later, Frank's device beeped again. It was Lucy. Fixed it, she said cheerfully. Station is safe. The method worked perfectly. I am writing a paper about it. That is wonderful, Frank said flatly. I am very happy no one died. Now I have to go explain to the Galactic Council why our compromise failed after 6 hours. Oh, Lucy said. Sorry about that. But in my defense, I really did not have time to file paperwork. Frank contacted Morthen immediately. He explained the situation. He waited for the yelling to start. Instead, Morthen was quiet for a long moment. Ambassador Wilson, I am beginning to understand the problem. You cannot stop your species from doing these things because emergencies do not follow schedules. Exactly, Frank said, relieved she understood. Which means Protocol HMB will continue to activate regularly for the foreseeable future. Probably yes. Another long pause. We need to completely rethink our approach. The protocol was designed to prevent disasters. But your species does not cause disasters. You prevent them just in terrifying ways. That is a fair assessment, Frank agreed. Give me 3 days, Morthen said. I will discuss this with the council. Perhaps instead of trying to stop humans from being humans, we should learn to work with it. Frank felt hope for the first time all day. That would be appreciated, council leader. After the call ended, Frank sat in his ship and laughed. The galaxy was finally learning what every human already knew. You could not stop people from solving problems in creative ways. You could only hold on tight and hope for the best. His communication device showed another alert. Somewhere in the Andromeda sector, another human had just said the phrase. Protocol HMB was activating again. Frank poured himself a drink and settled in. It was going to be a long week. The asteroid was going to kill everyone on Colony Theta, 7. It was that simple. Tyler Webb stood in the command center of the mining ship Pathfinder, staring at the projection screen. The asteroid was massive, roughly the size of a small moon. It would hit the colony in 48 hours. 300,000 people lived on Theta 7, and they could not evacuate everyone in time. We cannot divert it, said Chief Engineer Sal Torres. We ran every calculation. It is too big, moving too fast. We would need a nuclear weapon 10 times larger than anything we have. Tyler studied the asteroid structure. He had been a demolition expert for 15 years, mostly clearing old buildings and mountains for mining operations. But asteroids? That was new territory. What if we do not divert it? Tyler said slowly. What if we split it instead? Everyone in the command center turned to look at him. Split it? Sal repeated. Tyler, that asteroid is solid iron and rock. You cannot just crack it in half. Actually, Tyler zoomed in on the projection. Look at these stress fractures running through the core. The asteroid is not as solid as it looks. If I place charges at exactly the right points, I can split it along these natural fault lines. A Valerian science officer shook her head. The calculations required would be impossibly complex. You would need to account for rotation, internal pressure, material density variations. One mistake and you just make the problem worse by creating multiple deadly fragments. Or I make it better by creating fragments small enough to burn up in the atmosphere, Tyler countered. The margin for error is 0, the science officer insisted. Our best computers say it cannot be done with any reliability. Tyler looked at the projection again. He saw the patterns in the rock, the way the fractures connected. His years of experience told him it could work. It would be insane and dangerous, but it could work. I need a ship, 300 kilos of precision explosives, and 6 hours to plant the charges, Tyler said. This is madness, Sal said. Tyler, if you fail, you doom the entire colony. If I do nothing, the colony is doomed anyway, Tyler pointed out. At least this gives them a chance. The colony governor appeared on the communication screen. Her name was Rita Hayes and she looked exhausted. Mr. Webb, I heard your proposal. Do you really think you can do this? Honestly? Tyler met her eyes. I think I have a 60% chance of success. But that is 60% more than we have right now. Governor Hayes was quiet for a moment. Do it. We will continue evacuation efforts, but you are our best hope. Tyler grabbed his equipment and headed for the shuttle bay. Sal followed him, along with 2 other crew members who volunteered to help plant the charges. Tyler, Sal said quietly. You know what you are about to say, right? Tyler grinned. Yeah, I know. They reached the shuttle. Tyler loaded his equipment while Sal prepared the navigation system. The rest of the crew gathered to watch them leave. Everyone knew this was probably a suicide mission. Tyler climbed into the pilot's seat and activated the communication system. Command, this is Tyler Webb. I am heading out to the asteroid. Tell everyone to hold my beer. The moment those words transmitted, Protocol HMB activated across the entire sector. Alarms blared on every ship within 5 parsecs. Military vessels that had been on routine patrol suddenly changed course toward Colony Theta 7. Medical ships prepared for mass casualties. Emergency response teams mobilized. Cargo haulers carrying supplies changed their routes to head for the colony. The Galactic Safety Council headquarters received the alert. This time, instead of panic, they activated their new rapid response protocol. Resources were allocated. Specialists were dispatched. Everything the galaxy had learned from previous human incidents went into action. Tyler had no idea any of this was happening. He was focused on flying his shuttle toward a giant space rock that was about to kill 300,000 people. It took 3 hours to reach the asteroid. Tyler put on his space suit and began the careful work of planting explosives. Each charge had to be placed exactly right, down to the centimeter. One mistake would ruin everything. Sal helped him drill into the rock and set the charges. They worked in silence, both knowing how critical every second was. The asteroid rotated slowly beneath them, a massive ball of iron and stone that did not care about the tiny humans crawling on its surface. Last charge is set, Tyler finally said. Let us get back to the shuttle. They flew back to a safe distance. Tyler pulled up his detonator control. The charges were all connected wirelessly, ready to explode in a precise sequence that would split the asteroid along its fault lines. Command, this is Webb. Charges are planted. I am ready to detonate on your signal. Webb, this is Command, Governor Hayes' voice came through. Before you detonate, you should know that Protocol HMB brought in support from across the sector. We have medical ships, emergency supplies, and military vessels standing by. Whatever happens, we are ready. Tyler blinked in surprise. Protocol what? Apparently when you said, hold my beer, you triggered a galaxy-wide alert. Half the sector scrambled to help. We thought you should know you are not alone out here. Tyler looked at Sal, who shrugged. Humans, Sal said simply. Well then, Tyler said. Let us not waste their time. Detonating in 3, 2, 1. He pressed the trigger. The charges exploded in perfect sequence, each one timed to the millisecond. Cracks appeared along the asteroid's surface, spreading like lightning across stone. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the asteroid broke apart. It did not shatter into a million pieces. Instead, it split into 7 large fragments, exactly as Tyler had calculated. The fragments began drifting away from each other, their paths diverging. It worked. Sal shouted. Tyler, you actually did it. But Tyler was already running new calculations. His smile faded. Wait. 3 of those fragments are still going to hit the colony. They are smaller, but they are still big enough to cause massive damage. What? Sal pulled up the trajectory data. You're right. We just traded 1 extinction-level impact for 3 catastrophic impacts. Tyler's mind raced. He had spare explosives, but not enough to destroy 3 asteroid fragments. They needed ships with enough firepower to blast the fragments into smaller pieces. They needed that help immediately. Command, we have a problem, Tyler started to say. We see it, Webb, Governor Hayes interrupted. But we are already on it. The Galactic Defense Fleet arrived 2 minutes ago. They are positioning to intercept all 3 fragments. Tyler pulled up his scanner. She was right. 6 military ships were moving into position around the asteroid fragments. Their weapons powered up. Fragments 1 and 2 are in range, a military officer announced over the open channel. Firing. Energy beams lanced through space, hitting the asteroid fragments. The rocks exploded into thousands of smaller pieces, each one small enough to burn up in the atmosphere. Fragment 3 is in range. Firing. Another explosion. Another success. Tyler sat back in his pilot seat, stunned. They were ready. They were already in position. That is what Protocol HMB does now, Sal explained. When a human says those words, the galaxy mobilizes everything nearby. They learned from all the previous incidents. They figured out that when humans attempt something crazy, it usually works but creates complications. So now they prepare for both the success and the complications. On Colony Theta 7, people watched their screens as the asteroid fragments burned up in the atmosphere like shooting stars. What should have been their last day alive turned into a celebration. Governor Hayes contacted Tyler directly. Mr. Webb, you saved us. But I want you to know it was not just you. It was also the galaxy learning to work with human unpredictability instead of against it. Tyler thought about that. A month ago saying hold my beer caused panic. Now it caused coordination. The galaxy had adapted to humans. So what you are saying is, my stupid phrase actually helped? Tyler asked. Your stupid phrase mobilized 6 military ships, 12 medical vessels and 40 supply haulers, Governor Hayes laughed. I would say it helped quite a bit. Back at Galactic Council headquarters, Morthen watched the incident report with satisfaction. Protocol HMB had worked exactly as intended. The human said the phrase, attempted something impossible, succeeded, created complications, and the galaxy was ready for all of it. She opened a communication to all council members. I believe we have found the solution. We cannot stop humans from being humans. But we can prepare for it. Protocol HMB is no longer a warning. It is a mobilization order. When humans attempt the impossible, we make sure they have support. The council members agreed. For the first time in weeks, everyone was smiling. On the shuttle returning to Colony Theta 7, Tyler looked at Sal. So I guess I am famous now? You saved 300,000 people by splitting an asteroid with homemade explosives, Sal said. Yeah, you are famous. Good, Tyler grinned. Because I am definitely telling this story at every bar I visit. 6 months had passed since Tyler Webb split the asteroid and saved Colony Theta 7. The Galactic Council chamber looked different today. Instead of angry delegates, everyone seemed almost relaxed. Ambassador Frank Wilson sat at the human table, wondering what surprise was coming this time. Council leader Morthen stood at the center podium. We have analyzed 217 Protocol HMB incidents over the past 6 months. The data is clear. When humans say the phrase, they succeed 94% of the time. However, 100% of incidents require immediate support and resources. A holographic chart appeared showing every incident. Mining rescues, ship malfunctions, medical emergencies, and diplomatic crises. Every single one started with a human saying 3 simple words. We tried to stop humans from saying the phrase, Morthen continued. That failed. We tried to regulate it. That also failed. So we changed our approach. Instead of treating Protocol HMB as a warning of disaster, we now treat it as a call for coordinated support. The Krillian delegate who had yelled at Frank months ago actually stood up and smiled. I must admit, Ambassador Wilson, your species has taught us something valuable. Sometimes the best solution is not the safe one. It is the crazy one that somehow works. Frank smiled back. I appreciate that. Which brings us to our proposal, Morthen said. The Council has voted to create official emergency response initiative teams. These teams will be led by humans and include members from multiple species. When Protocol HMB activates, these teams will coordinate the response. Frank sat up straighter. You want humans to lead emergency response teams? Who better? More than asked. You are already doing it unofficially. We are simply making it official. The teams will have full authority to mobilize resources across the galaxy when the protocol activates. This is a significant responsibility, Frank said carefully. Your species has proven you can handle it, More than replied. We have selected our first team leader. Captain Nina Ross, please step forward. Frank turned in surprise. Nina Ross walked into the council chamber wearing a crisp new uniform. She looked as shocked as Frank felt. Captain Ross, More than said. You were the first human to accidentally trigger the new protocol HMB. Your incident helped us understand the scope of the issue. Now we ask you to help us solve it. Will you lead the first emergency response initiative team? Nina glanced at Frank, who nodded encouragingly. She turned back to More than. I would be honored, Council Leader. But I have to ask, are you sure you want the person who caused a sector-wide panic to lead emergency responses? Several delegates actually laughed. The Thosian delegate whose scales had turned red with anger months ago spoke up. Captain Ross, you did not cause a panic. You showed us that our systems were not prepared for human behavior. You helped us become better. That is exactly the kind of person we need. Then yes, Nina said. I accept. The council chamber erupted in applause. Frank felt proud. His species had gone from being a problem to being a solution in just 6 months. Over the next 3 weeks, Nina assembled her team. She chose Tommy Blake as her second-in-command. Lisa Grant would handle communications. Carl Bishop would manage technical operations. But she also added alien members. A Valerian tactical specialist named Kexrin. A Brevian medical officer named Silma. A Krillian engineer named Torvel. They trained together at a specially built facility on Station Unity. The aliens learned to work with human unpredictability. The humans learned to coordinate with alien precision and planning. It was not always smooth. The first week, Nina accidentally triggered Protocol HMB during a training exercise and caused a real emergency response before she could explain it was just practice. But they got better. The team learned each other's strengths. Kexrin was brilliant at tactical planning. Silma could handle medical emergencies that would overwhelm human doctors. Torvel could fix any machine given enough time. And the humans brought creativity and willingness to try impossible solutions. Their first real mission came on a Tuesday morning. Nina was drinking coffee in the team-ready room when the alert came through. Emergency on mining station Perseus 4. Structural collapse has trapped 62 miners in the lower levels. Rescue teams cannot reach them. Estimated time until oxygen runs out, 4 hours. Nina hit the alarm. Her team assembled in 90 seconds, everyone in their gear and ready to move. Situation report, Nina said as they boarded their response ship. Lisa pulled up the data. The mine used unstable blasting techniques and caused a cave-in. 300 meters of collapsed rock between the trapped miners and the surface. The station's equipment cannot drill through in time. What about drilling from the side? Tommy asked. The rock is too unstable, Kexrin said, studying the scans. Any drilling could cause another collapse and kill the miners immediately. Nina looked at the data. The station had good equipment but no creative solutions. They needed something nobody had tried before. She thought about Tyler Webb and his asteroid. She thought about Ryan Cooper and his radiation tunnel. She thought about every human who had ever solved an impossible problem. I have an idea, Nina said slowly. But it is risky. Her team looked at her. The humans were grinning. The aliens looked nervous but ready. What if we use controlled explosives to create a pressure wave that compacts the loose rock while simultaneously opening a narrow rescue tunnel? Nina explained. We would need perfect timing and placement, but it could work. That has never been tested, Silma said. The calculations would be extremely complex, Torvel added. It could also trigger a total collapse, Kexrin warned. Nina nodded. I know. But it is the only option that gets those miners out in time. Torvel, can you calculate the explosive placement? The Krillian engineer pulled up his computer. His 4 arms moved across the keyboard at incredible speed. Give me 20 minutes. You have 10, Nina said. Tommy, coordinate with the station. Get us landing clearance near the collapse site. Lisa, activate Protocol HMB. Captain, are you sure? Lisa asked. That will mobilize resources across 3 sectors. Those miners need every resource we can get, Nina said. Besides, it is time the galaxy sees the protocol used properly. Lisa nodded and sent the activation signal. Immediately, alerts went off across nearby space. But this time, instead of panic, there was organized response. Medical ships moved toward Perseus 4. Supply vessels changed course. Military escorts took up support positions. The Emergency Response Initiative team landed on Perseus 4 18 minutes later. Torvel had finished his calculations. They had the explosives and the equipment. Everything was ready. Nina stood at the edge of the collapse site, looking down at 300 meters of unstable rock. 62 people were counting on her to do something nobody had ever done before. She picked up her communication device and opened a channel to her team, the station, and the council observers monitoring the mission. This is Captain Nina Ross. We are attempting a controlled explosive rescue. It will probably look scary. Trust us. She paused and smiled. Tommy, hold my beer. Tommy took her coffee mug, grinning. Still coffee, Captain. Still a figure of speech, Nina replied. She gave the signal. Torvel activated the explosives in perfect sequence. The ground shook. Rock shifted. For a terrifying moment, it looked like everything was going to collapse completely. Then a narrow tunnel appeared, boring straight down through the compacted rock like a drill. It was barely wide enough for one person, but it reached all the way to the trapped miners. Tunnel stable. Torvel announced. Rescue teams can proceed. Nina's team moved fast. Silma went down first with medical equipment. Kexrin followed with safety gear. The humans formed a relay line to pull miners up one at a time. It took 3 hours to get everyone out. All 62 miners survived. Some had injuries, but Silma's quick medical work kept everyone stable until they reached the station hospital. When the last miner reached the surface, the station crew erupted in cheers. Nina's team collapsed on the ground, exhausted but smiling. Ambassador Frank Wilson contacted Nina from the council chambers. Captain Ross, the council watched your entire operation. That was extraordinary work. Thank you, Ambassador, Nina said, still catching her breath. But it was not just me. It was the whole team. Human creativity combined with alien expertise. That is what made it work. The council agrees, Frank said. They want to create 9 more teams just like yours. You just proved the protocol works as a coordination tool. Nina looked at her team. Humans and aliens sitting together, covered in dust and exhausted, but proud of what they had accomplished. Tell the council I am happy to help train the new teams, Nina said. But they need to understand something. The protocol works because we are not afraid to try impossible things. And we succeed because the galaxy learned to support us instead of fear us. I will tell them, Frank promised. By the way, your hold my beer moment is already famous. Everyone in the galaxy is talking about it. Nina laughed. Good. Let them talk. Maybe they will finally understand that when humans say those words, it is not a threat. It is a promise. A promise that we will find a way to solve the problem, no matter how impossible it seems. She closed the communication and looked at her team. Who wants to go get actual beer to celebrate? Everyone raised their hands. Across the galaxy, Protocol HMB was no longer feared. It was respected. When humans said those 3 words, the galaxy knew what it meant. Someone was about to do something amazing. Someone was about to solve a problem everyone else said could not be solved. And the galaxy would be there to help them succeed. The humans had taught the universe an important lesson. Sometimes the craziest solution is the right one. You just need to be brave enough to try it and smart enough to have support ready when things get complicated.